Lisa Morgan stood in line at First National Bank on what seemed like any other Tuesday morning in downtown Denver. She wore a simple gray business suit and carried a black leather briefcase that held deposit slips for her small accounting firm. The clock on the marble wall showed 10:15 a.m. and the bank buzzed with its usual morning activity. 3 people stood ahead of her in line. An elderly woman named Helen Carter fumbled through her oversized purse looking for her reading glasses. Behind the counter, Katie Wells smiled at each customer with the same practiced cheerfulness she had shown for the past 5 years working as a teller. Near the entrance, security guard Paul Martinez leaned against the wall checking messages on his phone. Lisa watched the normal flow of people coming and going. A young mother bounced her toddler on her hip while waiting to speak with a loan officer. 2 construction workers in dusty clothes discussed weekend plans as they filled out forms at the customer service desk. Everything appeared perfectly ordinary, but Lisa Morgan was not ordinary, though no one in the bank would ever guess her true background. To everyone around her, she was just another small business owner handling routine banking tasks. Her accounting firm specialized in tax preparation for local restaurants and shops. She drove a modest Honda sedan and lived alone in a 2-bedroom apartment across town. The morning sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor. Lisa shifted her weight and glanced at her watch. She had a client meeting at 11 and needed to finish here quickly. The elderly woman ahead of her finally found her glasses and moved forward to the teller window. Outside on the busy street, delivery trucks rumbled past and office workers hurried along the sidewalks carrying coffee cups and briefcases. The city moved at its usual pace, unaware that anything unusual might happen on this Tuesday morning. Lisa noticed 4 men entering the bank together. They wore dark hoodies despite the warm September weather. Something about their synchronized movement caught her attention. In her line of work as an accountant, she had learned to notice patterns and details that others might miss. These 4 men moved like a unit, not like random customers. The first man was tall and broad-shouldered. He kept his hood up and his hands in his pockets. The second man was shorter but moved with the same careful precision. The third man looked around nervously, his eyes scanning the ceiling and corners of the bank. The fourth man stayed near the entrance after the others moved deeper into the building. Lisa observed their positioning without staring directly. Her accounting background had taught her to be observant about people and their behavior. She noticed how they spread out to cover different areas of the bank lobby. The tall man positioned himself near the vault entrance. The nervous one moved toward the customer service area. The shortest one walked past the teller windows. Katie Wells greeted the elderly woman with her usual warm smile. Helen Carter asked about her account balance and began the slow process of writing out a withdrawal slip with shaky handwriting. Lisa checked her watch again and shifted her briefcase to her other hand. The 4 hooded men continued to position themselves around the bank. Lisa noticed that none of them had approached any teller windows or service desks. They seemed to be waiting for something. The tall man near the vault kept checking a small device in his pocket. The nervous one by customer service tapped his fingers against his leg in a rapid rhythm. Paul Martinez, the security guard, remained focused on his phone and seemed unaware of the 4 men. He was in his early 60s and had worked bank security for over 20 years without ever facing a serious incident. Most of his job involved helping elderly customers and making sure the doors locked properly at closing time. Lisa found herself studying the 4 men more carefully. Their clothing all looked new, as if they had purchased everything recently from the same store. The hoodies were identical except for color, 2 black, 1 dark blue, 1 dark green. Their shoes were all white sneakers that looked fresh out of the box. The young mother with the toddler finished her business with the loan officer and headed toward the exit. Her child waved at the 4 hooded men as they passed, but none of them waved back or even acknowledged the friendly gesture. Lisa found this odd. Most people would at least smile at a waving child. Helen Carter finally completed her transaction and moved away from the teller window. Lisa stepped forward as Katie Wells called out, "Next, please," in her cheerful voice. But before Lisa could approach the counter, everything changed. The tall man near the vault pulled something from under his hoodie. At first glance, it looked like a strange gun, but Lisa had never seen anything quite like it. The weapon had an unusual blue glow along its barrel and made a soft humming sound. The other 3 men simultaneously reached under their clothing and produced similar weapons. In one fluid motion, All four men pulled down their hoods and revealed faces that were clearly not human. Their skin had a grayish-green tint and their eyes were larger than normal human eyes. Strange markings covered their cheeks and foreheads in patterns that looked like tattoos, but seemed to glow faintly. The tall alien raised his weapon and shouted in accented English, "Everyone on ground now! Do not move or you die." His voice had an odd metallic quality that echoed strangely in the marble-walled bank lobby. Chaos erupted instantly. Helen Carter screamed and dropped her purse, scattering coins across the floor. Katie Wells dove behind the teller counter. Paul Martinez fumbled for his service weapon but seemed frozen in shock at the sight of the alien faces. The construction workers at the customer service desk threw themselves flat on the ground. Lisa Morgan dropped to her knees like everyone else, but her mind remained completely calm. While others panicked, she began analyzing the situation with the cold precision of someone who had faced far worse threats than 4 alien bank robbers. She recognized the weapons immediately. They were Zephyrian pulse rifles, capable of firing concentrated energy bursts that could punch through steel. She also recognized the aliens themselves, members of a species she had encountered before in circumstances that no one in this bank could imagine. Screams filled the air and the 4 Zephyrian gunmen began shouting orders. Lisa Morgan remained perfectly still and began planning her response. The 4 Zephyrian gunmen moved with military precision as they took control of the bank. The tall leader pointed his glowing weapon at the ceiling and fired a warning shot that left a smoking hole in the marble. The energy blast made a sharp crackling sound followed by the smell of burned stone. "All humans stay down," the leader commanded in his strange metallic voice. "We take what we need and leave. No one gets hurt if you follow orders." His English was heavily accented but clearly understood. The other 3 aliens spread out to cover all exits and sightlines. Katie Wells cowered behind the teller counter, her hands shaking as she reached for the silent alarm button. The shortest alien noticed her movement and fired a warning shot that shattered the computer monitor inches from her head. Glass fragments scattered across the floor as Katie screamed and pulled her hands away from the alarm. "No alarms, no calls, no signals," the short alien said. His voice was higher pitched than the leader but equally threatening. "You try to warn others and we kill everyone here." Paul Martinez slowly raised his hands in surrender. His service weapon remained holstered as he realized how outmatched he was against their advanced energy weapons. The aliens had positioned themselves so that any move he made would result in innocent people getting hurt. Helen Carter lay on the cold marble floor, sobbing quietly as she tried to make sense of what was happening. The construction workers pressed themselves flat against the ground near the customer service desk. One of them whispered a prayer under his breath while the other stared in shock at the alien faces. Lisa remained motionless on her knees, but her mind worked rapidly to assess the tactical situation. She counted 4 hostiles with advanced energy weapons positioned at strategic points around the bank lobby. The leader controlled the main area near the vault. The short one covered the teller windows. The nervous alien watched the front entrance. The 4th gunman positioned himself near the customer service area. The leader spoke into a small communication device attached to his wrist. Lisa caught fragments of his words spoken in the Zephyrian language. She understood enough to know they were reporting successful control of the building and requesting permission to proceed with their primary objective. "You." The leader pointed his weapon at Katie Wells. "Open vault, now." Katie's voice shook as she replied, "I can't open the main vault. Only the manager has those codes and she's not here today." The alien leader made a harsh clicking sound that Lisa recognized as Zephyrian laughter. "We do not need your codes, human female. We have our own methods." The nervous alien near the entrance pulled a device from his jacket that looked like a tablet computer, but with additional components that glowed with the same blue light as their weapons. The screen showed complex patterns and symbols that shifted constantly. "Scanning shows vault contains quantum encryption terminal," the nervous alien reported to his leader. "Target confirmed. We can proceed with data extraction." Lisa's blood ran cold as she heard those words. Quantum encryption terminals were not standard equipment for normal banks. If this branch had one, it meant they were handling classified government accounts or military payroll systems. The aliens were not here for money. They were after sensitive information. The short alien moved to the vault door and attached a small cylindrical device to the locking mechanism. The device began emitting a low humming sound, and the vault door's electronic displays started flickering. Whatever technology they were using was far beyond anything human security systems could resist. How long? The leader asked. 6 minutes for vault penetration, the short alien replied while monitoring his equipment. 2 minutes more for quantum terminal access. Lisa realized the aliens had planned this operation carefully. They knew exactly what they were looking for and had brought the specific tools needed to steal it. This was not a random crime, but a carefully coordinated intelligence operation. The nervous alien continued monitoring his scanner device. Local enforcement response time estimated at 12 minutes based on traffic patterns and distance from nearest station. We have sufficient time margin. Helen Carter tried to sit up, but the alien near customer service pointed his weapon at her. Stay down, old human. Do not test our patience. The elderly woman whimpered and lowered herself back to the floor. Her purse contents remained scattered around her. Reading glasses, tissues, family photos, and loose change that glittered in the morning sunlight. Paul Martinez watched helplessly as the aliens worked. His security training had covered robbery situations, but nothing had prepared him for armed extraterrestrial criminals using advanced technology. His hand twitched near his service weapon, but he knew that any aggressive move would result in civilian casualties. The vault door emitted a series of electronic beeps as the alien technology overrode its security systems. Lisa heard the massive locking bolts retracting inside the reinforced steel walls. The door swung open with a soft hiss of escaping air from the climate-controlled interior. Vault breached, the short alien reported, proceeding to locate quantum terminal. The leader gestured for him to continue while keeping his weapon trained on the hostages. Work quickly. Local military may respond faster than local police if they detect quantum encryption breach. Lisa's mind raced as she processed this information. The aliens clearly understood human military response protocols. They knew that certain types of data theft would trigger automated alerts to military commanders, rather than just local police. This suggested extensive prior intelligence gathering about human security procedures. The short alien disappeared into the vault, while his scanner device continued beeping softly. The remaining 3 aliens maintained their positions covering the hostages and exits. The nervous one kept checking his monitoring equipment for signs of approaching human forces. Quantum terminal located, came the muffled voice from inside the vault. Beginning data extraction sequence. The leader spoke again into his wrist communicator using rapid Zephyrian phrases. Lisa caught enough words to understand that he was providing status updates to someone else. Probably other aliens waiting outside or possibly on a ship somewhere. Katie. Wells remained hidden behind the teller counter, tears streaming down her face as she listened to the aliens discussing their theft of classified information. She had no idea that the small bank branch, where she worked, handled anything more sensitive than business accounts and personal savings. The construction. Workers stayed motionless on the floor near the customer service desk. One of them had pulled out his cell phone but kept it hidden under his body, unsure whether he dared to try calling for help. Lisa continued her assessment of the situation. The aliens were professional and well-equipped, but they had made assumptions about human capabilities that might prove to be mistakes. They treated the hostages as helpless civilians incapable of effective resistance. Data extraction 40% complete, the alien in the vault reported. Quantum encryption proving more complex than anticipated. May require additional 3 minutes. The leader clicked his tongue in annoyance. Acceptable delay. Maintain security perimeter. As the robbery continued, Lisa Morgan began to consider her options. She knew things about these aliens that they did not expect any human in this bank to know. More importantly, she had training and experience that could turn this situation around if she acted at the right moment. Lisa maintained her position on the floor while conducting a detailed tactical analysis of her situation. Her years of specialized training had taught her to gather intelligence even while appearing helpless. She observed every detail about the alien gunmen and their equipment with the practiced eye of a professional soldier. The nervous alien near the entrance kept checking his scanning device every 30 seconds. Lisa noticed that the device displayed what appeared to be a 3-dimensional map of the surrounding area, with moving dots that probably represented approaching vehicles. The technology was clearly more advanced than anything human law enforcement possessed. Local enforcement units detected at 8 blocks distance, the nervous alien reported to his leader. Multiple vehicles converging on this location. Estimated arrival in 7 minutes. The leader made another clicking sound of acknowledgement. Continue monitoring. Alert me when they reach 3 blocks distance. Lisa studied the leader's communication device on his wrist. She recognized it as a standard Zephyrian military field communicator, which meant these aliens were likely active duty soldiers rather than civilian criminals. The device had several indicator lights that showed connection status to other units and possibly to orbital support. The short alien working inside the vault called out progress reports every few minutes. Data extraction 60% complete. Quantum encryption algorithms more sophisticated than intelligence reports indicated, revising completion estimate to 5 additional minutes. This information confirmed Lisa's suspicion that the aliens had conducted extensive reconnaissance before this operation. They had detailed intelligence about the bank's security systems and the quantum encryption terminal. But their information was not completely accurate. Helen Carter tried to shift to a more comfortable position on the hard marble floor. The alien covering the customer service area immediately pointed his weapon at her. "Remain motionless, elderly human. Any movement will be interpreted as hostile action." The old woman froze in terror. Lisa could see that Helen was struggling with the physical strain of lying on the cold floor. Her arthritis was probably causing significant pain. But the alien showed no concern for human comfort or medical needs. Katie Wells remained crouched behind the teller counter, occasionally peering over the edge to see what was happening. The alien covering her area had positioned himself so he could watch both the teller windows and assist with vault security if needed. His weapon stayed trained on her general location even when he looked away. Paul Martinez watched the aliens with growing frustration. His security training emphasized protecting customers and bank assets, but the situation was completely beyond his capabilities. The energy weapons the aliens carried could easily penetrate his body armor and probably punch through the bank's reinforced walls. Lisa noticed that the aliens communicated with each other using a mixture of English and their native language. When they spoke English, it was for the benefit of the hostages, to maintain control through intimidation. When they switched to Zephyrian, they were sharing tactical information they did not want humans to understand. Unfortunately for them, Lisa understood every word. Human military response protocols suggest automated alerts triggered by quantum encryption breach, the nervous alien said in Zephyrian. Possible special forces deployment if they classify this as security threat rather than criminal action. The leader replied in the same language. Our intelligence indicated local military lacks rapid response capability. Nearest special operations unit based 300 kilometers away. Lisa almost smiled at this exchange. The aliens had good intelligence about human military structure, but they were missing crucial information about rapid deployment, capabilities, and the presence of certain assets in the local area. The short alien in the vault provided another update. Quantum encryption core accessed. Beginning download of classified financial data. Target files include military payroll systems and government contractor accounts. This confirmed Lisa's worst fears. The aliens were not just stealing money. They were accessing information that could compromise military personnel and defense contractors. The data they were downloading could be used to identify targets for future operations or to infiltrate human military systems. Download progress 75%. The vault alien continued, encountering additional security layers. Some files appear to require biometric authentication. The leader cursed in Zephyrian. Intelligence did not mention biometric locks. Can you bypass them? Negative. Would require physical presence of authorized human personnel. Lisa knew that the most sensitive files in the quantum terminal would be protected by multiple security layers, including biometric scanners, encryption keys, and probably remote authentication from military command centers. The aliens could steal the lower-level data, but the most valuable information would remain secure. The nervous alien checked his scanner again. Local enforcement now at 4 blocks distance. 6 vehicles detected plus helicopter unit approaching from the south. Acceptable timeline, the leader responded. Continue extraction of available data. We depart when local forces reach 2 blocks distance. Lisa realized the aliens had planned their escape timing carefully. They knew exactly how long they could remain in the bank before human forces arrived in sufficient numbers to threaten their operation. This suggested they had studied local law enforcement response patterns extensively. The construction workers near the customer service desk whispered quietly to each other. One of them was trying to comfort the other, who seemed to be having a panic attack. The alien covering their area heard the whispers and moved closer to them. "Silence," the alien commanded. "No communication between hostages permitted." The workers immediately stopped talking and pressed themselves flatter against the floor. Lisa could see that one of them was hyperventilating and might lose consciousness if his panic continued to escalate. Katie Wells tried to reach for her purse, which had fallen behind the counter. The alien covering her area immediately fired a warning shot that struck the wall inches from her head. The energy blast left a smoking crater in the reinforced concrete. "No reaching for objects," the alien warned. "Keep hands visible at all times." Katie pulled her hands back and clasped them in front of her face. Lisa could see that the young teller was struggling to maintain control of her emotions. The stress of the situation was affecting all the civilian hostages, but they had no training to help them cope with this level of threat. The alien in the vault announced, "Download 85% complete. Extracting final data packages now. 3 minutes to completion." The leader checked his wrist communicator. "Orbital support confirms extraction window remains open. No human space assets detected in monitoring range." This comment revealed another layer of the alien operation. They had support from spacecraft in orbit around Earth, which meant this bank robbery was part of a much larger military operation. The implications were staggering. An alien fleet was operating in Earth's solar system without human detection. "Local enforcement at 3 blocks distance," the nervous alien reported. "Multiple unmarked vehicles detected. Possible special operations response." The leader's expression changed slightly. "Unexpected. Our intelligence suggested only standard police response for bank robbery." Lisa knew that certain types of quantum encryption breaches would automatically trigger military response regardless of the apparent nature of the crime. The aliens had underestimated human security protocols for protecting classified information. "Maintain current operation timeline," the leader decided. "Complete data extraction and prepare for departure. If human special forces arrive, we engage and withdraw." The aliens began checking their weapons and equipment more carefully. They were preparing for the possibility of armed resistance from trained human soldiers. Lisa realized that innocent people could get caught in a firefight. If military forces arrived, while the aliens were still in the bank, she also realized that she might be the only person in the building with the knowledge and skills necessary to prevent that scenario from developing. The situation reached a breaking point when the alien covering the customer service area became frustrated with Helen Carter's quiet sobbing. The elderly woman was struggling with pain from lying on the hard floor and could not stop crying despite her efforts to remain silent. "Old human makes too much noise," the alien said in Zephyrian to his leader. "Should we eliminate unnecessary hostage?" The leader glanced over at Helen Carter and shrugged. "Use your judgment. We do not need all of them alive for mission success." Lisa's blood turned to ice as she heard this exchange. The aliens were discussing murdering an innocent elderly woman simply because her crying annoyed them. Helen had no idea that her life was being debated in a language she could not understand. The alien near customer service walked over to Helen Carter and pointed his energy weapon directly at her head. The old woman looked up at him with tear-filled eyes, completely unaware that she was about to be executed. "Stop crying or die," the alien said in broken English. Helen tried to control her sobbing, but the fear and pain made it impossible. Her arthritis was causing severe discomfort from lying on the marble floor, and the stress of the situation had overwhelmed her emotional reserves. She pressed her hands to her mouth, trying to muffle the sounds, but small whimpers continued to escape. The alien raised his weapon higher and began charging it for a lethal shot. The barrel glowed brighter blue as energy built up inside the weapon's firing chamber. Helen Carter had perhaps 10 seconds to live. Lisa Morgan's military training overrode every other consideration in that moment. She could not allow an innocent civilian to be murdered while she had the ability to prevent it. Her cover as an ordinary accountant became irrelevant compared to saving a human life. Moving with fluid precision that surprised everyone in the bank, Lisa rolled sideways and came up in a combat crouch. Her briefcase flew open as she dove, scattering accounting papers across the floor. But instead of looking like a panicked civilian, she moved with the controlled grace of a professional warrior. The alien threatening Helen Carter turned toward Lisa in surprise, giving her the opening she needed. She launched herself forward in a diving tackle that caught the alien around the waist and drove him backward into the customer service desk. His weapon discharged into the ceiling as they crashed together into the furniture. Lisa's hands moved with practiced efficiency as she applied joint locks and pressure point techniques that were specifically designed for Zephyrian anatomy. Her knowledge of alien physiology allowed her to disable her opponent with moves that would have been ineffective against a human attacker. The alien tried to bring his weapon around to shoot her, but Lisa trapped his arm and applied a nerve pinch that paralyzed his trigger finger. She stripped the energy rifle from his grip and rolled away from his attempt to strike her with his free hand. The other 3 aliens reacted immediately to the sudden attack. The leader spun toward Lisa while the nervous alien near the entrance tried to get a clear shot without hitting his comrade. The alien in the vault emerged with his weapon ready. Lisa came up from her role already aiming the captured Zephyrian pulse rifle. Her muscle memory from countless hours of training with alien weapons allowed her to adjust the power settings and targeting systems without conscious thought. She fired a precisely controlled burst that struck the nervous alien in the shoulder, spinning him around and dropping him to the floor. "Human female has combat training," the leader said in Zephyrian, his voice filled with surprise and concern. This was not anticipated in mission planning. Lisa spoke her first words in the Zephyrian language since the robbery began. "Your mission planning was inadequate in many ways." The shock on the alien faces was immediate and profound. Not only could this human fight using their own weapons and techniques, but she spoke their language fluently. The leader's tactical assessment of the situation changed completely in that moment. Katie Wells stared from behind the teller counter in amazement. The quiet accountant who had been waiting in line just minutes earlier was now engaged in armed combat with alien invaders using weapons and skills that seemed impossible for a civilian to possess. Paul Martinez reached for his service weapon, finally seeing an opportunity to contribute to the fight, but Lisa called out to him without taking her eyes off the remaining aliens. "Stay down, Paul. Your weapon will not penetrate their armor effectively. Keep the civilians protected." The security guard was stunned that she knew his name, but he followed her instructions and positioned himself to shield the hostages rather than joining the firefight. The alien leader and his remaining companion in the vault area began moving to flank Lisa's position. They communicated in rapid Zephyrian about tactics for dealing with a human who clearly had specialized training in fighting their species. Lisa anticipated their movement and used the bank's architecture to her advantage. She took cover behind the marble pillars that supported the ceiling, using their bulk to protect herself from crossfire while maintaining clear shots at her opponents. The alien she had disarmed tried to reach for a backup weapon with his unparalyzed hand. Lisa fired a warning shot that struck the floor inches from his head, leaving a smoking crater in the marble. "Remain still and you will not be harmed further," she told him in Zephyrian. The alien in the vault called out, "Data extraction 95% complete. 2 minutes to mission completion." The leader had to make a tactical decision. He could continue the firefight and risk losing more of his team, or he could try to complete the mission and escape with the stolen data. Lisa's unexpected resistance had disrupted their timeline, but they were still close to achieving their primary objective. "Continue extraction," the leader ordered. "I will handle the human." Lisa realized that the alien leader was the most dangerous opponent she faced. His movements and positioning indicated advanced military training equivalent to human special forces. This would not be an easy fight. The leader began a careful advance toward Lisa's position, using suppressing fire to limit her movement options. His weapon discharged in controlled bursts that forced her to stay behind cover, while he closed the distance between them. Helen Carter had crawled away from the combat area and huddled with the construction workers behind an overturned desk. They watched in fascination and terror as Lisa fought the aliens with skills that seemed to come from science fiction movies. Lisa checked the power level on her captured weapon and realized she had limited ammunition remaining. Zephyrian pulse rifles carried enough energy for approximately 50 shots before requiring recharge, and she had already fired several times. The alien leader continued his advance, speaking to her in Zephyrian as he moved. "You fight well for a human, but you cannot defeat all of us. Surrender now and we will spare the other humans," Lisa replied while preparing for his next assault. "Your species has made that promise before. Your word carries no weight with me." The leader paused in his advance, clearly puzzled by her response. "Before? When have humans encountered our species previously?" Lisa smiled grimly as she prepared to reveal just how much the aliens had underestimated human capabilities and knowledge. Lisa used her knowledge of Zephyrian tactical doctrine to predict the leader's next move. She knew that their species favored direct frontal assaults when facing individual opponents, believing that superior firepower could overcome any human resistance. This cultural preference for overwhelming force was about to become his weakness. Instead of waiting for his attack, Lisa took the initiative. She fired 2 quick shots at the marble pillar near the alien's position, causing chunks of stone to explode and create a dust cloud that obscured his vision. While he was temporarily blinded, she moved to a new position behind the customer service counter. The alien leader fired blindly into the dust cloud, his energy blast striking empty air where Lisa had been moments before. His shots left smoking holes in the marble wall and shattered several computer monitors, but Lisa was already flanking his position. "Your tactics are predictable," Lisa called out in Zephyrian. "Your military training follows the same patterns I learned to counter on Kepler Station." The alien leader froze in shock. Kepler Station was a classified Zephyrian military base located in a star system that humans were not supposed to know existed. Only someone with access to high-level intelligence could know that name. "Impossible," the leader said. "No human has ever been to Kepler Station." Lisa emerged from cover with her weapon trained on him. "Your intelligence reports are more incomplete than you realize." The alien in the vault called out urgently, "Data extraction complete. All files downloaded successfully. Requesting immediate extraction." The leader spoke into his wrist communicator in rapid Zephyrian. "Orbital support, we need emergency extraction. Mission compromised by unexpected human resistance. Prepare for combat pickup." Lisa understood every word and realized that the aliens had spacecraft waiting to retrieve them. This changed her tactical priorities. She needed to prevent their escape and capture at least one of them alive for interrogation. The nervous alien she had wounded earlier was trying to crawl toward the entrance while clutching his injured shoulder. Lisa fired a precision shot that struck the floor directly in front of him, creating a barrier of molten marble that blocked his escape route. "Local enforcement at 1 block distance," the nervous alien reported weakly. "Multiple tactical units detected." The alien leader made a command decision. "We extract with the data. Leave the wounded. Mission success takes priority." Lisa realized that the Zephyrian military was willing to abandon their own soldiers to protect the stolen information. This matched their cultural attitude toward individual sacrifice for collective objectives. The alien who had been working in the vault emerged carrying a small device that glowed with the same blue energy as their weapons. The stolen quantum encryption data was stored inside that device, representing a massive security breach for human military systems. "Give me the data device," Lisa demanded in Zephyrian. "Surrender it now and I will allow you to leave peacefully." The vault alien looked to his leader for instructions. The leader's response revealed the true importance of their mission. "The data is worth more than all our lives," the leader said. "Protect it at any cost." Lisa knew she had to prevent that device from leaving the bank. The information it contained could compromise military operations across human space and put millions of lives at risk. She adjusted her weapon to maximum power and prepared for a final confrontation. The alien leader and his companion from the vault positioned themselves to protect the data device while moving toward the entrance. They used overlapping fields of fire to prevent Lisa from getting close enough to threaten their objective. Helen, Carter, and the other hostages watched from their hiding places as Lisa maneuvered through the bank lobby, using furniture and architectural features for cover. Her movements showed training and experience that went far beyond anything a civilian accountant should possess. Katie Wells whispered to Paul Martinez, "Who is she? How does she know how to fight like that?" The security guard shook his head in amazement. "I have no idea. She seemed like a normal customer when she came in this morning." Lisa realized that conventional tactics would not work against 2 opponents who were willing to die to protect their mission. She needed to use their own psychology against them. Zephyrian culture placed enormous value on military honor and individual combat prowess. "Your leader abandoned his wounded soldier," Lisa called out in their language. "He shows the cowardice typical of your species." The alien leader reacted exactly as Lisa hoped he would. Zephyrian military doctrine emphasized that insults to personal honor had to be answered with individual combat. He could not ignore such a direct challenge to his courage and leadership. "I will prove Zephyrian superiority in single combat," the leader declared. "Face me alone, human female." His companion tried to protest. "We should extract immediately with the data. Personal honor is less important than mission success." But the leader was already moving away from his support, driven by cultural imperatives that overrode tactical logic. Lisa had manipulated him into making exactly the mistake she needed. The single combat that followed demonstrated the difference between theoretical training and actual combat experience. The alien leader was skilled and well-equipped, but Lisa had fought his species in environments ranging from asteroid mining stations to the zero-gravity corridors of space stations. She used the bank's marble floors to her advantage, creating ricochets and debris clouds that disrupted his aim. Her knowledge of Zephyrian anatomy allowed her to target nerve clusters and joint weaknesses that caused maximum damage with minimum energy expenditure. The alien leader's overconfidence in his species' physical superiority became his downfall. He assumed that his natural strength and reflexes would overcome any human opponent, but Lisa's training had specifically prepared her to fight enemies with superior physical capabilities. The decisive moment came when the leader attempted a charging attack that was standard Zephyrian military technique. Lisa sidestepped at the last moment and used his own momentum to send him crashing into the vault door. The impact stunned him long enough for her to disarm him and apply a nerve pinch that paralyzed his weapon arm. With their leader defeated, the remaining alien with the data device faced a choice between continuing the fight or attempting to escape. Lisa had positioned herself between him and the exit, making his decision even more difficult. Outside the bank, the sound of approaching sirens grew louder as police and military units closed in on the building. The alien's window for escape was rapidly closing, but he still possessed the stolen data that represented the success or failure of their entire mission. "Your extraction opportunity is gone," Lisa told him in Zephyrian. "Surrender the device and you will be treated according to the conventions of warfare." The alien looked at his paralyzed leader, his wounded companion near the entrance, and the approaching human forces. His mission was failing, but he still had one option that might allow him to complete his objective. He began adjusting controls on the data device, preparing to transmit the stolen information directly to his orbital support, rather than physically carrying it to safety. Lisa realized immediately what the alien was attempting to do with the data device. The blue glow intensified as he activated transmission protocols that would send the stolen quantum encryption codes directly to Zephyrian ships in orbit. She had perhaps 30 seconds before the data breach became irreversible. "Transmission initiated," the alien announced in his native language. "Upload to orbital command beginning now." Lisa fired her weapon at the device, but the alien had anticipated this move and shielded it with his own body. The energy blast struck his armor and knocked him backward, but the transmission continued. The device was protected by the same energy field technology that powered their weapons. Moving with desperate speed, Lisa tackled the alien and tried to wrestle the device away from him. Her knowledge of Zephyrian anatomy gave her an advantage in close combat, but he was fighting to protect what his species considered vital military intelligence. During their struggle, the device fell to the floor and its protective casing cracked open. Instead of stopping the transmission, this accident revealed the true scope of the alien operation. Holographic displays projected from the damaged device showed data that made Lisa's blood run cold. The quantum encryption files were just the beginning. The device contained detailed intelligence about human military installations, defensive capabilities, and troop deployments across multiple star systems. The aliens had been conducting surveillance of human space for months, possibly years. More disturbing were the tactical plans displayed in the holographic projections. Lisa saw invasion routes, target lists, and troop deployment schedules for a massive assault on human colonies. The bank robbery was not an isolated incident but preparation for a full-scale war. Phase 1 reconnaissance complete appeared in Zephyrian text across one of the displays. Economic vulnerability assessment confirms human weakness in financial infrastructure. Proceed to Phase 2 military strikes. Lisa grabbed the device and tried to abort the transmission, but the alien technology was beyond her immediate understanding. The data upload continued even as she attempted to access the control systems. The wounded alien near the entrance used his remaining strength to activate his own wrist communicator. Orbital command, priority transmission in progress. Protect data stream at all costs. Through the bank's windows, Lisa saw something that confirmed her worst fears. High in the sky, almost invisible against the morning clouds, metallic shapes moved in formation. The Zephyrian fleet was not hiding in deep space. They were already in Earth's atmosphere. Katie Wells pointed toward the windows and screamed, "There are ships up there. Flying ships." The hostages looked up to see alien spacecraft descending toward the city. The vessels were sleek and predatory, their hulls reflecting sunlight as they prepared for combat operations. Human authorities had no idea that an invasion fleet was positioned above major population centers. Paul Martinez activated his radio to call for backup, but only static came through the speakers. "They're jamming our communications," he reported to Lisa. "Nothing's getting through." The alien with the data device managed to activate additional functions despite his injuries. New holographic displays showed the locations of other Zephyrian teams operating simultaneously across the planet. Banks in New York, London, Tokyo, and dozens of other cities were being robbed at the same moment. "Global operation," Lisa said grimly as she studied the displays. "They're hitting financial centers worldwide to map human economic systems before the invasion begins." The paralyzed alien leader managed to speak, despite his injuries. "Your species will fall within days. We know your weaknesses now." Lisa continued trying to stop the data transmission while analyzing the intelligence displayed around her. The holographic projections showed human defensive positions, supply lines, and communication networks with frightening accuracy. The aliens had spent years preparing for this moment. Outside the bank, police vehicles arrived, but their occupants quickly realized they were facing a situation beyond normal law enforcement capabilities. The alien ships overhead made it clear that this was not a simple bank robbery, but the beginning of something much larger. The data transmission reached 70% completion. Lisa knew that if the upload finished successfully, human military forces would be at a massive disadvantage in the coming war. The aliens would know exactly where to strike for maximum damage. She made a desperate decision and fired her weapon directly at the device's power core. The energy blast caused a feedback loop that overloaded the transmission systems. Sparks flew from the damaged components as the upload process stuttered and began to fail. "Transmission interrupted," the alien said with obvious distress. "Only partial data transfer achieved." Lisa grabbed the device and smashed it against the marble floor repeatedly until the holographic displays flickered and died. The stolen quantum encryption codes were destroyed, but she could not know how much information had already reached the Zephyrian fleet. The alien ships overhead began moving toward the bank's location. Lisa realized that they were coming to retrieve their operatives and the stolen data. If the aliens discovered that their mission had failed, they might begin their invasion immediately rather than completing their reconnaissance. "They're coming down," Katie Wells said, pointing at the approaching spacecraft. "What do we do?" Lisa looked at the hostages and the injured aliens scattered around the bank lobby. She had prevented the complete theft of human military secrets, but the situation was still deteriorating rapidly. The Zephyrian fleet was already in position to begin attacking human cities. The alien leader struggled to reach his wrist communicator despite his paralyzed arm. "Orbital command mission compromised. Human resistance encountered. Request immediate extraction and combat support." Lisa heard the response through the communicator's speaker. The voice spoke in Zephyrian, but she translated mentally as she listened. "Extraction approved. All teams report mission success in other locations. Proceed to Phase 2 as scheduled. Begin planetary assault in 6 hours." The full scope of the crisis became clear to Lisa in that moment. While she had stopped the data theft at this location, Zephyrian teams had succeeded at other banks around the world. They had obtained enough intelligence to proceed with their invasion plans. Human military forces were about to face an enemy that knew their every weakness and defensive position. The war that was beginning would catch humanity completely unprepared unless someone could warn them about what was coming. Lisa realized that she was probably the only person on Earth who understood the true nature of the threat. Her knowledge of Zephyrian language and tactics gave her insights that no one else possessed. She had to find a way to contact human military command and share what she had learned. The alien spacecraft outside grew larger as they descended toward the bank. Their weapon systems began charging with the same blue energy that powered the pulse rifles. Lisa knew that she had very little time before the aliens decided to eliminate all witnesses to their failed, Operation. She looked at the terrified hostages, huddled around the bank lobby, and made another decision that would reveal more of her true identity. It was time to stop pretending to be an ordinary accountant and start acting like the military operative she really was. Lisa moved quickly to the bank's main computer terminal and began accessing systems that no ordinary accountant should have known existed. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she bypassed security protocols and connected to encrypted military communication networks. "What are you doing?" Paul Martinez asked, watching her work with equipment that was supposedly restricted to bank management. "Sending a warning to people who need to know about this," Lisa replied without taking her eyes off the screen. "The invasion fleet is already here, and human forces have no idea what they're facing." The alien spacecraft outside had descended to rooftop level and were beginning to deploy soldiers rappelling down on energy cables. Lisa could see at least 20 Zephyrian warriors preparing to storm the bank and eliminate everyone inside. She finished typing her emergency message and transmitted it through channels that would reach Space Command within minutes. The alert contained everything she had learned about the global operation, the invasion timeline, and the capabilities of the Zephyrian fleet. The paralyzed alien leader managed to turn his head toward Lisa. "You know too much about our capabilities for an ordinary human."
"Who are you really?"
Lisa stood up from the computer terminal and faced him directly. "Lieutenant Commander Lisa Morgan, Navy SEAL Team 7 Extraterrestrial Operations Division. I've been hunting your species for 3 years." The shock on the alien faces was complete. They had spent months planning this operation, based on intelligence that suggested no humans had knowledge of their species or capabilities. The presence of a trained operative specializing in fighting Zephyrians changed everything. Katie Wells stared at Lisa in amazement. "You're military, but you work as an accountant. Deep cover assignment," Lisa explained while checking her captured weapons' power levels. "We've known about alien reconnaissance for months. Today's operation was designed to identify and capture their agents." The alien soldiers outside finished their deployment and began moving toward the bank's entrances. Lisa counted their positions and realized she was outnumbered 20-1, but her knowledge of their tactics gave her advantages they could not anticipate. She moved to the bank's security control panel and activated lockdown procedures that sealed all entrances except the main door. This forced the attacking aliens to funnel through a single point where she could establish a defensive position. "Helen, Katie, everyone get into the vault," Lisa ordered. "The walls are reinforced and will provide protection from their weapons." The hostages scrambled toward the open vault door while Lisa prepared to make her final stand. She positioned herself behind the marble reception counter, where she had cover from multiple angles and clear fields of fire toward the entrance. The alien leader tried one last time to contact his forces. "Assault team, priority target is the human female. She has classified knowledge that cannot be allowed to escape." Lisa heard the response through his communicator. "Understood. Terminate all witnesses and retrieve intelligence files." The first wave of alien soldiers breached the main entrance using shaped charges that blew the reinforced doors off their hinges. They moved in perfect formation, covering each other as they advanced into the bank lobby. Lisa opened fire with controlled bursts that demonstrated her superior knowledge of Zephyrian combat doctrine. She targeted their formation leaders first, disrupting their coordination and forcing them to take cover behind furniture that provided inadequate protection against their own weapons. The aliens returned fire with overwhelming volume, but their energy blasts struck marble pillars and reinforced walls that absorbed most of the damage. Lisa had chosen her position to take advantage of the bank's architecture, using their own firepower against them. "Human resistance stronger than anticipated," one of the alien soldiers reported. "Request permission to use heavy weapons." Lisa knew that heavy Zephyrian weapons could level the entire building. She had to end this fight quickly before they decided that destroying the bank was acceptable collateral. Damage she activated, a device from her briefcase that she had carried for months while maintaining her cover identity. The emergency beacon would alert nearby human military units to her location and situation. Help was coming, but she had to survive until it arrived. Moving with the fluid grace of someone trained in zero-gravity combat, Lisa vaulted over the reception counter and engaged the aliens in close quarters fighting. Her knowledge of their anatomy and weak points allowed her to disable opponents with precise strikes that would have been ineffective against human enemies. The alien soldiers were skilled and well-equipped, but they had trained to fight humans who knew nothing about their capabilities. Lisa's specialized knowledge turned their own advantages against them. She used their expectations of human limitations to set up ambushes and flanking maneuvers that caught them completely off guard. The battle raged through the bank lobby as Lisa moved from cover to cover, picking off alien soldiers with surgical precision. Her captured weapon finally ran out of power, forcing her to rely on hand-to-hand combat techniques and improvised weapons. She grabbed a fallen alien's energy rifle and continued fighting. But the odds were still heavily against her. More soldiers were rappelling down from the ships outside, and her ammunition was running low again. The wounded alien near the entrance managed to activate a self-destruct sequence on his equipment. "If we cannot complete the mission, we ensure no evidence survives," he said in Zephyrian. Lisa realized that the aliens were preparing to destroy the bank and everyone in it, rather than allow their failed operation to be investigated. She had perhaps 2 minutes before the explosive charges hidden in their equipment detonated. The alien leader, despite his paralyzed arm, began dragging himself toward the vault where the hostages were hiding. His intention was clear. He wanted to eliminate the witnesses personally before the building was destroyed. Lisa intercepted him just outside the vault entrance. What followed was a brutal hand-to-hand fight between two trained warriors who understood that only one of them would survive. The alien leader was larger and stronger, but Lisa's knowledge of pressure points and joint locks gave her the techniques needed to overcome his physical advantages. The fight ended when Lisa applied a chokehold that cut off blood flow to his brain. The alien leader collapsed unconscious, but she could hear the ticking sounds from the self-destruct devices scattered around the bank. "Everyone out of the vault now," Lisa shouted to the hostages. "We have 90 seconds to evacuate the building." Katie Wells and the others emerged from their hiding place and followed Lisa toward the damaged main entrance. Behind them, the timing devices on the alien equipment continued their countdown toward destruction. Outside the bank, human military vehicles were finally arriving in response to Lisa's emergency beacon. Apache helicopters engaged the alien spacecraft while ground forces prepared to assault the building. Lisa led the hostages through the rubble of the destroyed entrance, just as the self-destruct charges detonated. The explosion brought down part of the bank's roof and sent debris flying across the street, but everyone had escaped in time. As smoke cleared from the destroyed building, Lisa looked up at the sky where the battle between human and alien forces continued. She had prevented one part of the invasion plan, but the war was just beginning. Emergency vehicles surrounded the destroyed bank as firefighters worked to control the blaze, and paramedics treated the hostages for shock and minor injuries. Lisa sat on the back of an ambulance while a medic checked her for wounds, but her attention remained focused on the continuing air battle overhead. Detective Ray Johnson approached with his notebook ready, clearly struggling to understand what had happened. "Ma'am, I need to get your statement about the robbery. The witnesses say you fought off the perpetrators using some kind of advanced weapons." Lisa looked at the detective and realized how impossible the truth would sound to someone without security clearance. "I happen to have some self-defense training. I was lucky to survive." Katie Wells overheard this exchange and shook her head in disbelief. Lucky? She fought alien soldiers like she'd been doing it her whole life. That wasn't luck. Before Detective Johnson could ask more questions, black SUVs arrived and federal agents stepped out wearing suits and serious expressions. FBI agent Carol Turner flashed her credentials and took control of the scene. "This is now a federal investigation," Agent Turner announced. "All witnesses will be debriefed by federal personnel. Local authorities are to secure the perimeter and prevent media access." Lisa recognized the standard procedure for containing incidents involving classified operations. The government would classify everything that happened today, and the hostages would be sworn to secrecy after being given cover stories to explain their experiences. Helen Carter sat in another ambulance, still shaken by her ordeal but physically unharmed. She looked at Lisa with obvious gratitude. "That young woman saved my life. Those things were going to kill me." Paul Martinez provided his security footage to the federal agents, though Lisa knew that most of it would be classified or destroyed to protect operational secrets. The official report would describe a failed bank robbery by unidentified terrorists using experimental weapons. Agent Turner approached Lisa and spoke quietly. Ma'am, I need you to come with us for debriefing. There are some questions about your background that need clarification. Lisa nodded and stood up from the ambulance. She had expected this moment and was prepared for the extensive interrogation that would follow. Her cover identity as an accountant had been blown, but that was a small price to pay for stopping the alien intelligence operation. As they walked toward the federal vehicles, Lisa's secure phone buzzed with an encrypted message. She read it quickly and felt a mixture of relief and concern. The emergency alert she had transmitted from the bank had reached space. Command in time to warn human forces about the invasion. Fleet Admiral Pete Harrison himself had responded to her message with orders for immediate deployment of defensive assets. Fighter squadrons were scrambling from bases across North America, while orbital platforms prepared to engage the alien ships still lurking in Earth's atmosphere. The air battle is just the beginning, Lisa told Agent Turner as they reached her vehicle. The aliens have been planning this invasion for years. Today's bank robberies were intelligence gathering for a much larger operation. Agent Turner paused before opening the car door. How much do you know about these aliens? Your actions in there suggested familiarity with their technology and tactics. Lisa looked back at the smoking ruins of the bank where she had maintained her cover identity for 6 months. I know enough to help you fight them. But first I need to contact my real commanding officer. As the federal vehicle pulled away from the scene, Lisa used her secure phone to call Admiral Harrison directly. The conversation was brief but crucial to humanity's survival. Admiral, this is Morgan. The Zephyrian reconnaissance phase is complete and they're moving to active invasion. You should have my full report in your secured inbox by now. Admiral Harrison's voice was tense with urgency. Confirmed, Commander. Your intelligence allowed us to intercept their fleet before they could achieve orbital superiority. How many other deep cover operatives do we have in position? Lisa smiled grimly as she watched fighter jets streaking overhead toward the alien ships. More than the Zephyrians realize, sir. They assumed humans were ignorant of their existence. But we've been preparing for this day for 3 years. The truth was that Lisa Morgan was one of dozens of specially trained operatives living ordinary lives in cities around the world. Each of them had been positioned near potential alien targets, ready to respond when the invasion began. In New York, a construction foreman named Jack Wilson was leading resistance against aliens who had attacked a Federal Reserve building. In London, a librarian named Sarah Davis was using her knowledge of Zephyrian computer systems to prevent data theft from government servers. Across the planet, humanity's secret defenders were revealing themselves as the invasion began. The aliens had spent years studying human society, but they had failed to detect the network of trained operatives hidden among ordinary civilians. The Zephyrians made a critical error in their planning. Lisa continued her conversation with Admiral Harrison. They assumed human military capabilities were limited to what they could observe directly. They never suspected that we had people specifically trained to fight their species. Through the vehicle's window, Lisa watched as human fighters engaged the alien ships in aerial combat. The pilots had been trained using intelligence gathered by operatives like herself during covert missions to alien worlds. This knowledge was now proving crucial in evening the odds against superior technology. The alien invasion of Earth had begun, but it was not proceeding according to Zephyrian plans. Instead of facing unprepared and defenseless humans, they were encountering organized resistance from forces that understood their capabilities and weaknesses. Agent Turner listened to Lisa's conversation with growing amazement. How long has the government known about alien threats? Lisa ended her call and looked at the federal agent. Long enough to prepare. The accounting firm where I worked was a cover identity. My real job was monitoring for exactly this type of incursion. As they drove through the city, Lisa could see other signs of the broader conflict beginning. Military convoys moved through the streets while helicopters patrolled overhead. The government was implementing emergency protocols that had been planned for years in anticipation of this moment. The radio in Agent Turner's vehicle crackled with updates from federal agencies coordinating the response. All deep cover assets are activated. Repeat, all assets are active and engaging alien targets. Lisa felt a sense of pride as she heard those words. The ordinary-looking people living quiet lives as accountants, teachers, mechanics, and shop owners were revealing themselves as humanity's first line of defense against invasion. The aliens had studied human society and military capabilities for years, but they had overlooked humanity's greatest strength, Humans could adapt, plan, and organize resistance even while appearing completely helpless. The species that the Zephyrians dismissed as primitive had been preparing to fight them all along. As the vehicle reached federal headquarters, Lisa looked up at the sky where the battle for Earth's future was being fought. The invasion was far from over, but humanity had survived the crucial first hours because ordinary people had extraordinary secrets. The woman who had seemed like a simple accountant waiting in line at a bank had helped save her planet. And across the world, dozens more just like her were doing the same thing, proving that humanity's true strength lay not in superior technology, but in the determination and courage of individuals willing to fight for their species' survival.